Maybe you know something about cryogenics. You know, you freeze your body until science can figure out a way to keep you alive for longer or maybe forever. Great idea for sci-fi, but in BC it is illegal to freeze yourself. Carrie Wong is with the BC Lifespan Society, a group that's challenging that law. Carrie, hello.
Hi. Thanks for interviewing me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Basically, I'd like to clear up a misconception. Cryogenics is the study of processes of physics of low processing chemistry, while cryonics is the study of how to preserve biological creatures like animals and people.
Cryonics.
Cryonics, not cryogenics.
Okay. Well, now we'll call it cryonics from now on. Why is it illegal to freeze living organisms in British Columbia?
That's actually where our legal challenge comes in. We're not entirely sure why the government is the only government in the entire world to pass legislation banning the offer for sale or sale of cryonics. And I feel like it infringes upon our civil rights. I think that cryonicists should have the right to do with their body whatever they want after they're deceased.
Is it feasible does this process even work? Is it feasible to imagine that this would work?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit, but you're asking me whether or not it's feasible. Basically, there is a whole science behind cryonics. That science is cryobiology, and they've successfully used cryobiology to preserve organs of a rabbit kidney, for example. They cryonically preserved that, and they froze it, and then they defrosted it and put it back inside the rabbit, and it worked again. So it does work for simple organs, and I believe that it is possible in the future that science could progress to such a state that nanotechnology and modern medicine will be able to repair the damage of freezing and what killed the person in the first place.
To launch a civil suit, you need somebody to be talking about. I assume there's somebody in British Columbia that would like to freeze themselves after death and can't.
Yes. The other plaintiff is Keegan McIntosh. He's in his late 20s, and he's sound of mind and body. He's not going to pass away anytime soon, but he feels that his best shot at living or extending his life after death is by signing up for cryonics, and I believe that he should have the right to do so.
Is this discussion similar in many respects to the idea of assisted suicide? Different sides of the coin, where the government is deciding how and when we can die, or how and when we can try to preserve our life so we don't die. It seems two sides of the same coin, perhaps.
Yeah, actually, in Canada, within the Supreme Court of Canada, there was a recent ruling that people had the right to assisted suicide, but that's unrelated to it's a civil rights type of discussion, so they are related in some ways. You know, if someone has the right to assisted suicide, then why do they not have the right to try to extend their lifespan?
So British Columbia is the only jurisdiction in the world that has a ban on cryonics. Where did it come from? How long has it been on the books for?
It was ratified again in 2004, but it was passed in the early 90s.
And for what reason? Do you have any idea?
We had activists back in the early 90s send complaints to the government about it and write letters to the BC government with no one taking responsibility or credit, and so it's a complete mystery to us, and we hope to find out more by filing this notice of civil claim.
Are there people elsewhere doing cryonics work on humans?
Yes, there's two established cryonics organizations in the United States, Alcor Life Extension Organization and also Cryonics Institute. They've been operating legally in the United States for 40 years.
And they're using live, recently deceased patients for this?
Yes. all cryonics patients have to legally be declared dead by a doctor to be able to undergo this procedure.
And you can choose to do this in the United States if you are of sound mind.
Yeah, and people sign up early. They pay into a life insurance policy, and the organization collects it upon decease or upon their death.
Okay, strange question perhaps, but how does it even work? How do you freeze somebody?
The entire technical procedure is pretty complicated, but I'll attempt to explain it in a nutshell. In a nutshell, basically the main problem of freezing is that ice crystals expand and crush the cells in the brain, where the brain is where we want to preserve our identity, because that stores our memories, our personality, and anything that cryonicists find important. So we want to prevent ice crystal formation. So the best way of doing that is to basically, the established cryonics organizations, they hire surgeons to do the work. They hire surgeons to make an incision in the patient, insert tubes, pump the blood out, and pump in cryopreservation solution. Now, this cryopreservation solution doesn't expand upon freezing. So once the patient is also being cooled down during this procedure to slow down the metabolic biological processes that start right after death, that stops or slows down the decay of the human mind and the human body. So while the patient is being cooled, their blood is being pumped out, and cool cryopreservation solution is pumped into their body. And then at a certain point, they are quickly frozen with liquid nitrogen gas, and then they're placed into metal dewars or metal tanks and slowly lowered to their final temperature, which is the temperature of liquid nitrogen. And that's how patients are stored. And
they can be stored indefinitely at that state.
Yeah, at that state, time basically stops for biology. Like nothing moves.
It sounds cool. I'll give you that. So when will your lawsuit proceed? What's the time frame on that?
Basically, the government has 21 days to respond.
Okay. 21 days. Well, maybe we'll check back with you and see how things are going. I appreciate your time tonight. We are out of time. Carrie Wong is with the BC Lifespan Society, suing the provincial government for a law that restricts humans' access to cryonics. Appreciate your time. Good night.
Thank you, Aaron.